Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you guys here. Now, today is September 30th, 2019. It's a Monday, and let's take a look at what's going on. Let's get the charts open right here. Now, the first thing I want to talk about right here is Brazil. They bought an aircraft carrier. They only have the one aircraft carrier. They bought it, and they paid a lot of money for it. But now they want to sell it at just a tenth of its price that they paid for it. Plus, they put like $100 million into it to try to repair it and stuff, And now they're trying to sell it. Here's what it looks like. You can see it's pretty darn big, Now, I see real estate properties in places like San Francisco, You don't get much for $1.2 million in a place like San Francisco. You just get like a one-bedroom apartment, And just think, for the same amount of money, you could buy this aircraft carrier and park it off of any park. I mean, it's like the gorilla, They say, where's a 1,000-pound gorilla going to sleep tonight? Anywhere he wants to, basically. So, you could park this thing, and you'd have quite a house. I was thinking, what a house set would make. It would have 1,000 rooms and bathrooms everywhere, and down below decks, it probably under decks, it's got even more than it has above deck, and it's got kitchens, and it's got everything a person would want, and it would last. It would last a long time. I mean, if you had this anchored off of someplace, and you're using it for a home, it would have 2 acres of deck. That's like your yard, you could plant grass up there. You could put down sods and plant grass. You could have a golf course on the deck of this thing, for crying out loud, And the price is, you can't even buy a nice home in a lot of cities for the price that they're asking for this. I was just thinking, just off the top of my head, I think it would make a great home to live on an aircraft. It would last a long time. It would probably last the next 40 years or more, It probably wouldn't need much maintenance because they've sunk a lot of maintenance into it. It's a football-sized field, evidently, the deck of the thing, so you'd have lots of room, and it's mobile. Anyway, just a thought. Let's take a look now at silver price today. Silver's been descending down and lower in price today. We're looking at a 40-cent drop, which is a significant drop in the price of silver. We were up to $19.30 not long ago. Now we're back down to $17.10. I don't like to see this happen, but you have to understand something is the way the financial system is structured right now. There's 2 forces fighting against each other, deflationary and inflationary. And the tendency is when it starts to go deflationary, the central banks pump money into the situation. But it takes a little while for that money to actually start to filter through the economy in any meaningful way, because the banks are putting that money into liquidity traps, And what a liquidity trap basically is the banks get bailouts from the government, which is basically putting the impetus on the taxpayers of the world to pay for the banking system. But what do the banks do with that money? They put it away. They lock it into their system as part of their capital reserves. And this is a liquidity trap, And it's only growing more intense, but still, all of those new dollars are being created while the banks are getting, basically, the people who are in the money pool and who are the recipients of this money are getting rich, while the rest of us are suffering through this deflationary parts of the economy. So there's parts of the economy that are going through deflation, while other parts are going through inflation. And we got a strange situation here. Let's take a look at gold today. See what gold's doing. Gold's dropping back too. $13.30 down. Take a look at cryptocurrencies today and see what they're doing. And what we're seeing here is we're seeing $215 billion market capital. It was down to 212 last night when I went to bed. 67.3% Bitcoin dominance. So it's went up $3 billion overnight, which is a slight tick upwards in price. Now, a few days ago, you know, when it was at 10,000, roughly around $10,500 per coin, I predicted that we were going to see a price decline, and I said that 8,000 would probably be the bottom. Well, we did. We broke through that 8,000 mark, but only slightly, and now we're slightly above the $8,000 mark. So I pretty much pegged it. But, I mean, will there be, the big question mark now in my mind is, will there be further price declines in Bitcoin below the $8,000 mark? It's a big question mark for me there. It depends on how bearish this market goes. Now let's take a look at, oh, that's something I was going to show you guys later. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones for today. And we're up 77 points. Let me refresh the page and we'll see which direction it's moving. We're up 87 points on the day. So we got a rising price in the Dow today. We're up 26,907, it looks like. And she's rising 87.27 points up today on the Dow. Let's take a look now at crude oil. Crude oil's been falling over the last 5 days. You know, this is an amazing situation because there's extreme tension in the Middle East right now, you know, and if the Middle East were to we've seen how suddenly things can change in the Middle East, you know, and if crude oil supplies get cut off from the Middle East, and at the same time we have a situation over here in the West where to produce the oil is actually costing more. In other words, it's a losing proposition. The fracking over here in places like the Permian oil basin, they have a cost per barrel that makes it prohibitive for them to actually make money. But they're making money off of bank loans. They're getting big bank loans going in these oil ventures, drilling all these fracking wells, and then the whole venture becomes unprofitable. Well, you have to ask yourself, well, why are they doing that? But regardless of why they're doing it, what's happened from it is the United States has become a major oil producer again. But it's the leftover oil is what they're pumping up out in these wells, you know, in places like West Texas, in the Permian oil basin, and places like that, in Eagle Ford, and there's different ones of these different oil basins. Anyway, let's move on here and let's talk about U.S. Treasuries for a minute. We're looking at the Treasury yields rising about 3 basis points, a little bit over 3 basis points on most of the long term of on the long end of the yield curve. 3.5 basis points on the U.S. 10 years, the biggest rise. Well, now it's 3.3. Basically, it's like 3.3, 3.3, 3.3, 3.3. You know, that's kind of unusual to see that. It looks like it's changed now again. They're being bought and sold real quick, but that was unusual right there. Just for a minute. While we were on this chart, it was 3.3, 3.3, 3.3, 3.3 on the 5-year, 7-year, and 10-year, and 30-year. Of course, it's changed now since I was talking, but that was weird. Let's take a look now at the U.S. dollar index. And this is the reason why gold and silver right now are dropping off in price. Look at this dollar index soaring. It's getting up near 100 on the U.S. dollar index. Now, you know, the biggest part of the basket of currencies that make up the U.S. dollar index, I think it's 60% of the U.S. dollar index, is the euro. So it's basically a comparison between the dollar and the euro, you know. And no wonder the dollar's so strong. Now, U.S.-China trade talks. They're set. They're going to have these trade talks in the second week of October. That's when we're going to have our trade talks. Now, I'll tell you where we're at with this right now. I think that probably right now, because of the situation that's happening in the world, I think the United States probably wants to sit down to the table right now and make a deal. They'd probably like to make a deal. They probably see getting a deal through, a trade deal through, is probably the best option that the president has to get reelected. Whereas China is, I think, going to be just the opposite of that. I think they're going to be wanting to wait to get a better deal for themselves, China, and the reason why they think they can get a better deal for themselves is they know two things are happening right now. One, there's impeachment proceedings. They probably want to wait and see how that goes. And there's an election coming up. And they're probably sitting and thinking to themselves, hey, you know what? Trump might not get through the election. There might be somebody else get in power. And that's much easier for them to deal with, and get a better deal for China. China's only interested in one thing, getting a good deal for China. So when they sit down at these talks, those are two things that's going to be on the Chinese people's minds, or the people that are controlling this deal is could we get a better deal if we wait a little bit and see what happens? Where America is going to be thinking to themselves, if we can get this deal through, we'll pick the economy up, everything will look more rosy again, and maybe we can get Trump reelected, So we got these two things happening simultaneously at the same time during these trade talks. Do I think they're going to get a deal through? No, I don't. I don't think there's going to be a deal just yet. I think that China is going to be a holdout. I think they're gonna want to wait, and that's my opinion only, but that's the way I think it's gonna go. Listen, thank you guys for listening to this show. Give me a thumbs up, guys, and we'll catch you guys on the very next show. Bye bye.